We are our only hope.
Right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. Today is our office hour session for case flags. So just before we get started, I wanted to remind our customers out there what our vision is as an organization, as well as our AppExchange vision. So our vision for IC is empowering the world to deliver the perfect service experience every time. And with our AppExchange product, empowering you awesome admins out there to deliver the perfect service experience for your end users and for your customers. So who's on this webinar today? So my name is Joe Reale. I'm one of the product managers here at Internet Creations. I'm happily joined by Peter Camille, who is our senior product manager, Thais Pedroso, one of our customer support specialists, and of course, as always, our director of the product team, Howard Yermer. So say hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Awesome. Well, everyone here is more excited than they're showing right now to be here. So we will, we'll go, and I'll try to get them a little more amped up as we go throughout this presentation today. Just some housekeeping items. In terms of during the presentation, you may have some questions. Please feel free to go into the GoToWebinar control panel. There is a questions column. You can go ahead and post your questions there. Howard is going to be monitoring these questions as the presentation continues. And we'll also have a spot towards the end of our discussion today to take some additional and last questions that we have. Of course, if there are any questions that we cannot answer live on this meeting today, we will make sure to follow up with those individual customers with some more details on the questions they had asked. Another fun thing I like to do is ask our customers is where are they calling in from? Most of us on this call today, the four of us, are calling from different spots in New Jersey. Actually, Thais, you're in PA, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in Pennsylvania right now.
Okay. And to remind our customers out there, we have two offices at IC. Our main headquarters is in Hamilton, New Jersey, and with another office out in Dallas, Texas. So tell us where you're calling in from. Howard, where are these people calling from?
Well, right now they're being very shy and they're not typing into the questions box.
Oh, my.
I'm not going to make up city names just for the fun of it. Okay,
so Howard,
that's
Joe, and
all
I
it
are all
took.
from Jersey. So does that make us Jersey boys?
Yes, I will say I'm below the Mason-Dixon line in New Jersey. I'm in the deep south of South Jersey, but we're seeing some, okay, so thank you all for sharing some answers. I really appreciate that. We're seeing Florida, Minneapolis, Eagan, Minnesota, Newton, Massachusetts, good old New York City, Germany, Stuttgart, thank you, that's awesome. California, some good stuff there. I always love to see a variety of our customers from different places. It always reminds me that we are not just trying to serve customers from like our backyard. It's our backyard is, you know, realistically our customers are all around the world. Rochester, New York. Okay, so for Rochester, New York, are you measuring snow by the foot today? I went to school in Rochester, New York. I have very fond memories of just how much snow it is capable. 1 hour can be a foot of snow. So I appreciate Rochester, New York. Also Philadelphia, you get the ideas. So thank you all. Joe, let's move on.
Awesome. Yeah, and actually, as we talk about, you know, all the folks from different regions here, one of the things we'll talk about later on is managing different business hours and working in different locations. So I'm excited to talk about that some more. So as far as our agenda for today, our main focus is going to be talking all about our new switchboard view. I'm really excited to share this with our customers. We'll talk about not only how to use the view, but also how to set up that view and some considerations around the setup process. We'll answer some frequently asked questions we've already gotten about the view. We'll talk about some adoption checklist items, some things we want to make sure that all of our CaseFlags customers have set up and have set up properly. And then we'll kind of wrap things up here with talking about our product roadmap in terms of what's next for CaseFlags. So a little bit about why we built the switchboard view. It came from a variety of different customer requests. The first request was customers asking us that we need an organization-wide view of all the cases in our org. All of the cases that are currently being worked, we want to know which ones are flagged, what the flag statuses are, who owns them, and to that point, better understanding individual agent workloads and seeing, you know, are there certain agents that have more work than others, and are they struggling? Maybe we'll find an agent that has 10 black flag cases, and we'll see an agent that has 2 blue flag cases, and we're like, well, we need to kind of balance that work out a little bit. It also really gives us a great opportunity to segment and compare different teams. And this is really great for enterprise level customers who may have, let's say, a support team of 50 people, and we have 20 people working on product 1, 20 people on product 2, and 10 people on the third product. Being able to easily see within each of those products, or perhaps within each of those regions, however you want to segment that, what your workloads look like. It also gives customers a chance to really focus in on which cases need the most attention. And now this is expanding what we do with list views already, with the utility bar, keeping that top of mind. We want to make sure that the cases that are needing the most attention are worked first. And also this was really built as a little bit of a complement to Omnichannel. Omnichannel is really good at assigning new work out to the most available agents based upon their agent workload. But we really wanted to build something that allowed support team managers and those in a triage role, build something for them to have the ability to reassign work once it has already been assigned to an agent. And without further ado, I'm going to demo some switchboard view for you. So give me a second here. Let's do a little, there we go. All right. So we're going to start with working with the view, and then we'll talk a little bit more later on about how to build a view. So here we have a case flag switchboard view, which I've gotten to just from the case flag switchboard tab here. And you'll see here, I have a lot of things going on, so I'll try to explain what's happening here. So we have two different groups of support team members that I've organized here. We have one that is US based with these 5 folks here, and one that is Asia Pacific based with these other 5 people here. So we're first of all able to segment all of our users based upon their region. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you may want to segment users based upon the product line they're supporting, or maybe some other attribute that you have in mind. So at the top of my view here, I can see how many cases do my agents currently own, and out of those, which ones are actually flagged, and then out of that, what the different flag colors are. And you can see if I do a quick hover over here, you can see I have 8 cases that are a black level 4 flag, 7 cases that are red flagged, and so on here. I can also search for additional cases in my view. So if I want to look for a specific case that one of my users own, I can search for it up here. I can use the case number. I can use the subject. I can use the account. I can use the contact to search for all of those cases that are being worked. So let me actually pop open a little, pop open a user here so I can show some fun, cool things. So we can see Kristen here. She has 5 cases, all of which are flagged. Something I want to show up here is our little slider, because you can filter cases by what the flag levels are. So let's say I go to this view and I say to myself, I really need to take care of my black flag cases first. Those need to get addressed before anything else. So what I can do is I can just move this slider to focus in on cases which are only black level flagged. And then you can see here, all those other cases, whether they're flagged red or not flagged at all, they kind of just get out of the way. And now I can focus in on which cases are black flagged and work them from there. One of the most interesting features of this, one of my favorite features, is case reassignment. So I can take a case so I can see here, Kristen, she's pretty busy. She's got a lot going on here. She doesn't even have, all of her cases that she owns are flagged at this point. So I want to see if I can assign her work, some of her work, to a more available agent. So I can look at other agents here and try to compare and see, okay, which of my agents have the most availability, or I can just drag the case into the group, and Case Flags does all the heavy lifting for me. Howard will talk about this in a little bit, but essentially what we have here is a way of seeing, Case Flags can automatically see which of the agents in this group has the most availability. And then once we do the drag and drop, it just assigns the case to that most available user. You could also take a more direct route and you're like, well, I'm gonna move this case directly to Christina. We just drag it to her, or I'll drag it to her here, and the case will get reassigned to her. Some other fun new things here. We have the ability to add filters to your view. And we can do this back on the edit screen when you're creating it. So here we're just looking at cases with specific statuses. But let's say I want to create this view and look at cases with a high priority or a specific case reason, or some other attribute of the case or related object, I can do that as part of this view. And something else we have here is the ability to see what time zone people are working in. This is really cool because if it's 4:45 and we get a new case and it's assigned to somebody who's going to be leaving for the day at 5 o'clock, I want to think to myself, I need to get that case to somebody who's going to be working it before that person comes in the next morning at 8 a.m. So I can easily see if somebody owns a case and it's about to be the end of their workday and it's still flagged, I can reassign their work if I choose to do so to somebody who is, more available at the current moment. And when you're looking at individual cases within a specific user, you have the ability to edit that case, not only drag and drop, but edit the case. You can also clear the flag or reset it based upon what the current flag status is. And you can also get a direct link to the case account contact. So some of the relevant information there that you may want to link out to. So Howard, Peter, Thais, you guys and I have talked about this a lot over the last few weeks. Is there anything else that you think our users should know about the switchboard view that we didn't cover just yet?
Oh, so I'll jump in. One of the things that I think is super duper important in terms of right now, we're showing that we've got these two different groups of users. We've got a US team and an APAC team. But the grouping that we're doing is very much defined by what you're going to create behind the scenes, which Joe's going to demonstrate in a little bit. And what we do in terms of math, which I'll also talk a lot more in depth, it really lets you just like quickly, if you're triaging your workload, you can see very quickly from the little bars next to each person, this person's underwater, this person is suffering, and quickly see who's succeeding. Case Flags is all about being very responsive to your customers. And so if you knew, I just want to see new cases and make sure they're getting out to my team, you can build the view to just look at new cases. If you want to see ongoing work, how is that ongoing work being balanced? You can build a view for that. So you're able to kind of really tailor your responsiveness and how you want that service to feel, whether it's prioritized for new cases, for ongoing cases, what have you. And what's great is behind the scenes, all of the math that's making that determination is all defined by the different aging speeds that you've asked Case Flags to run with. So as someone using the switchboard, you just see this is where the problem areas are. It's almost like an air traffic controller getting to land planes. You have to know which plane to land first. And it's one thing to know which plane one person should land. It's another thing to understand how is my team landing planes. And that's a really big question that we had to really consider here. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and again, right now my view is pretty broad. I'm kind of just looking at cases that are currently open, essentially. But you can narrow down this view with additional filters as well. It can go cross-object as well. So if you want to pull in like account-specific information, or if you want to have a switchboard view for just an account directly, and that's its own switchboard view, you can do that as well here. So. Awesome.
I was going to add, you mentioned it earlier, but I like the idea of being able to segment this by so many different areas. Like you said, account, maybe you want to look at your level 1 versus your level 2 support teams. Maybe if your teams are split up across different products and such. So I think being able to drill in and drill out to see the specifics is key to making this effective, especially when you have large teams.
Exactly.
We did have one question that came in, which I answered when it came in. The question was, can the switchboard be used to show cases located in multiple Salesforce instances? The answer is unfortunately no. It only supports one single org. But I'd be really curious to see in a future version if that is something that we can dig into. There's some new stuff that different applications can do to read across orgs. We haven't tried it yet, and the math that's happening behind the scenes in this switchboard view, I'm scared of looking at another org and trying to do the math across two orgs because we're doing a little bit of like levitation to make this work so that it feels really smooth. But we are loading in like all of your cases to do this. So we're trying to be really gentle on resources when we do this. But that might be something where we have to be very creative about how we get other switchboard data from other orgs. So I'd be really curious to see how that would be, like what are the real needs behind it to see if we could do something like that.
So some of you folks out there may have noticed that while Howard was speaking there, my screen kind of just refreshed. And the reason for that is because we've actually included an automatic refresh inside of the switchboard view. So I think it's like every minute, the screen will automatically refresh and you'll see the latest flags on the cases that you're looking at. So you'll always be up to date on what cases are owned and the different flag colors that exist out there. So awesome. We can actually, we can always come back to this and play some more with it later. Let me jump back to the demo or the slide deck here. And now what I really want to do is talk about how you go about creating a new view for Switchboard. Let me jump back. All right. So now we're back in the developer org here where we have Switchboard. I'm going to go ahead and click Edit here. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this, but I can also go ahead and create a new view as well. So these are just all the attributes I've applied to my existing view. One of the things I really like about the way we've designed this is there's a lot of ways to kind of fast forward and getting the view ready. One of the nice fast forward options we've included is the ability to add users based upon their profile or role. So I could sit here and add every single user and place them in whatever group they belong in, or I can just say, everyone with this profile is part of this group, and everyone with this other profile is part of this other group. And then CaseFlags does all the heavy lifting for me and finds everybody with those profiles and adds them to the appropriate group. The really nice thing I like about that is organizations have people coming and leaving all the time. So as you add new users, and even as you maybe lose some users, the view will always be up to date with whoever has that profile, whatever the active users are with that profile. We also have some other options here, selecting the record types we want to support. So we have this separated from the filters here, so I can determine which case record types should filter into this view. I have a couple in my developer org here, which are they kind of sound the same: IT support, widget support. You may have your own where you have like professional services, consulting, accounting, marketing, IT, and kind of have it segmented like that. So this just decides which record types will be supported. Howard, you want to talk a little bit about the enable weighted flag calculation setting and how that works?
Yeah, so one of the things that we talked about in the initial design of this tool was when CaseFlags doesn't know how long a particular case would take to resolve. All we know is how long it's been since a resolution's been asked for, basically since the flag has been set. So one of the things that we really wanted to build in was the concept of if a case has aged for a very long time, that represents more need versus a case that was just flagged. So what we did to weight the different flag calculations is we created a system where your level 1 flag, that first flag, is equivalent to like a weighting of 1. I'm going to simplify the math just to make this explanation. A level 2 flag is the equivalent of a weighting of 2. A level 3 flag, a weighting of 3, and a level 4 flag, a weighting of 4. It's actually slightly different than that because we're also accounting for unflagged cases as having weight. So for example, if someone owns 10 cases and 5 are flagged, the 5 unflagged cases represent a unit of work as well. That is work that doesn't have to be done right now, but someone will have to do it. Because we also wanted to prevent the concept of just load cases onto a support agent that has cleared their flags. So when we do the math, what we do is we look at how much, if it's not weighted, the math that we do, a flagged case and an unflagged case are effectively weighted equivalently. If they are weighted, an unflagged case is weighted, call it 1, and then the flagged cases have extra multiples of weight on them. And so you'll actually see in the bar that represents their work, the level 4 flags are wider than the level 3 flags than the level 2 and the level 1. So as the work ages, it's going to look like they are more loaded because they've got work that is just needs to get attended to. So if someone's got a lot of cases that have that level 4 flag, when we move it to somebody else, it will, like, their weighting will drop in a hurry. But we're doing this as a way to kind of make sure that you're focused on the customer response and not just like how many cases can a person clear the flag and respond to. Because when you're in an unweighted situation, support agents that are fast get a lot of extra work dumped on them without the weighted calculations. So there's no incentive in that model of an unweighted calculation. There's no incentive for your support team to actually finish quickly. There's actually kind of a disincentive that if they finish quickly, they'll just get assigned more work that they have to do. So they'll slow themselves down. And what we actually want to do is we want to promote the fact that someone who's really responsive, it's going to show up in the metrics behind the scenes that would be in your reports, that they have great response time and they're handling a lot of load, or someone who is consistently not meeting SLA is going to show up in the reports as these are the people that need help. These are the people that maybe need more knowledge, or they just need better productivity habits. We didn't want to mask that with the switchboard. We wanted that to be a thing that encourages that more productive behavior.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and as Howard mentioned here, it's basically to prevent those situations where you're treating somebody who has 3 black flag cases the same as somebody who has 3 blue flag cases, because the person who has 3 black flag cases, they need to work those faster, and they need to work those before they're able to take on more work, or at least they should not be assigned more work before the person who has the 3 blue flag cases. So, as I was mentioning earlier with the filters section on the switchboard view, I can search here for additional case fields to add as part of this. So let's say I want to add the case reason. If I could spell that correctly, there we go. And then I can say, okay, not only do I want to see cases with a specific status, but I want to see only cases with these few reasons. I could add that. Or if I want to say, I only want to see cases with a high priority, I can do that as well. And then from here, the nice thing is, I don't know if these changes are actually going to work. In fact, I really don't know if they're going to work because I did not test this part of adding filters here. So if I have the option to save and run, or I could just run it and see what happens. Now, I think that most of my cases are not a high priority, so this may give me nothing. Yeah, it gives me nothing here.
Whole lot of nothing.
But if I go back and if I add some more values here, and I subtract and I get rid of this here, and I look at maybe cases where it's a medium or low priority, and let's see, I might run it again. Get something here. Oh, I must have messed something up still. That's okay. The nice thing is, if you mess up a view and you need to create a whole new view, you can just go back to your list of views, which I have a couple here, and you can create a brand new one. And there's a series of steps you'll have to go through, similar to what we just saw. The first is giving your view a name. So like if you want to name it something very specific to the support team that it's designed to be used with, by all means, go ahead and do that. Adding users or queues or profiles or roles, I can add all of those different people to this view. So let's say I wanted to look for support. And so you can see here I get some profiles, I get some queues to add. So I can go ahead and add that. You can see when I added the profile, all these 5 people who are under that profile came along for the ride. But as I mentioned earlier, when we're creating a new group, Howard is awesome, because we're in a good mood today. I can just quickly grab the profile and throw it right here. I don't have to, add all of these specific users one by one. And then the following options, again, for record types, weighted calculations, and adding additional case filters to your view. All right, so I'm going to actually jump back to the, not working here. Oh boy. All right, jump back to the presentation here and talk about some frequently asked questions. And we can actually use this as an opportunity to answer any questions that we have from our customers, Howard. So let's start off here by talking about some of the questions we've gotten thus far. So the first question is, well, how does somebody enable switchboard view? So the switchboard view is accessible by default after you upgrade to the latest version on the App Exchange. So when you're in the Case Flags application, you'll be able to see it as a new tab for the switchboard view. And again, this is all included in the very latest version on the AppExchange. It was just put up yesterday afternoon. It's version 4.92. Can end users take advantage of this? So really, this switchboard view is designed for folks who are in a support team manager role or a triage role to better understand, their agent workloads. But it can definitely be utilized by end users. Anybody who's using the switchboard view will simply need to have the case flags manager permission set. And this is a new permission set that we've added as part of that 4.92 version that's on the AppExchange. In terms of the availability of this feature, it's just standard and comes with any new installs or upgrades of case flags. And it's going to be fully supported. So it's just part of the case flags AppExchange product moving forward. Another interesting question we got is, can I see from the switchboard view if users are viewing a flagged case? And this is a really interesting topic here. Currently, no. You won't be able to see if one of your agents is looking at a case that is either in the view or otherwise currently flagged. However, we are considering doing a cross-app update with Email to Case Premium so that those who are managing a switchboard view would be able to see if agents have started draft comments on any of those cases. And draft comments is an object and feature that comes with our Email to Case Premium application. So Howard, any questions from our customers before we move on? I think we have a time frame at the end here to take more questions anyway, but any questions we can address right now?
They're still being shy, which is okay. But I think one of the things to note when we think about, and Joe's question there that he's got in terms of being able to view whether or not someone is working a case, that is another one that is a real tricky one from a reliability standpoint. And we're always looking at things where if it's going to kind of work, we don't want to do it because you're going to think that it's working and it's not working, or it's not quite working. So one of the reasons we know we can do this with Email to Case Premium is when someone's on the new comment page, as they start typing, the draft comment object that we're creating is created. And then when they leave the new comment page, that draft comment either hangs around because they're not finished, but it doesn't get updated, or it goes away because they've actually created the full comment. So we can absolutely see with reliability in that situation that is happening. But for example, we might do some things with the switchboard with some of our other products where we can determine something like a duplicate case. So we have customers who have Case Merge Premium. We could reliably show that a duplicate has been detected for one of the cases in the switchboard. That's the kind of direction that we see ourselves going, which is that switchboard isn't just how do I move work around and determine whether or not this person's overwhelmed or this person has lots of availability. We're actually really looking at it the same way that someone who is saying these cases just came in and you might use skills-based routing to do something like omnichannel. That we're actually looking at this where customers have said skills-based routing is good on the input, but once the case is being worked, skills-based routing doesn't help me because I might need to change it to another person, or it's now going to another team and now I have to do this other thing. We feel like there's some good stuff that we can do to make this be kind of your, whether it's shared triage or particular members doing triage, to really have what you need to either quickly do some work on the case, like a quick reply, things like that, to delegate it to the right people or to redelegate it to the right people, as well as to figure out what actually just, doesn't need to be there. We did get a question here, which we'll talk about in a section, which is any reporting features. And I mean, it's all using Case Flags data, so the same reporting from Case Flags is all, of course, going to be there. But we do have something that we're thinking about. So if you have any thoughts around reporting, both Joe and for customers, we'd love to hear about it. We have some ideas that we're working on right now.
Yeah, I think it may even be our next slide. It's one of them.
We may have predicted this question.
It's not this next slide. It's a couple down the road.
Yes.
All right. So anyway, one other thing I wanted to go over here is, or just some adoption checklist items. And really, these are not necessarily new things, but just things we want our customers of Case Flags to be aware of to make sure that they're using the app properly and have everything properly set up. So let me actually jump back to the dev org. I'm going to let Thais talk for a minute or two here about our custom aging speeds feature and why it's important.
Yeah, sure. So if you look at this page, the first thing that you see is that you can define the flag icons and colors to use for each flag level. And then if you keep going down a bit, you can define a default aging speed. And something that we just added, as Joe mentioned, it's the custom aging speeds. So here you can create new ones if you need the flags to age faster or slower, and depending on criteria like record type, product line, account SLA. So that's the place to do that. And this would be similar to case assignment rules, where each time a case is created or updated, the custom aging speeds are evaluated in the order that they were created here. So then if criteria is met, it's applied, and if not, then the default one is used.
Yeah, exactly. And I've kind of created some crazy custom aging speeds to test some fun stuff in this org. But yeah, as Thais mentions, and this is something we've heard from our customers for years, which is, well, we have a default way case flag should age, but then we have certain scenarios where they need to age in a different fashion. Maybe they need to age faster because, you know, this is a white glove service account. We need to make sure that we're responding super duper fast to them. Versus maybe we get a case for something that's not that important, and we want to make those case flags age a little slower to indicate to the agents working them that, hey, this can, you know, this is flag that needs attention, but it should not be prioritized over something else. And for years and years, our solution to this was, you know, using workflow rules or process builders to do this. But now this is directly inside the application. A couple of other fun. I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
You're
You're first. No,
you first.
No.
You.
Well, I was going to go ahead and skip to the next topic here on this because we have a couple other things in terms of adoption list checklist items. So the next thing I really want to talk to our customers about is the flag event rules. And so we have a variety of different rules inside of case flags for when flags should be set and for when they should be cleared. Most of these actually come on by default. However, I've seen some instances recently where, you know, some customers have not necessarily been taking full advantage of all of these different features. And so, for example, we want to make sure that cases are being set on case creation and when new responses come in, as well as when a case is closed, we want to make sure that the flag is clear. And that way we get the proper metrics and know, hey, this case was closed. The flag is now cleared. This case does not require further action. And something we've recently added as part of these settings is the ability to set and clear flags on chatter posts. And this is really impactful if you're an organization who is communicating with your customers by mentioning them through chatter and having them respond in the community, in a customer community to that chatter thread. So you can have the agent outreaches clear the flag, and when the customer responds in the community, you can have that reset the case flag.
So
the last thing here,
we had a quick question, and this is a good one, although I believe he found it in the documentation, but is how do you assign a group of customers to a particular aging speed? And so what I was actually typing in right now, but I think he found the documentation, was we can actually go cross-object with the criteria. So if you've got a field on the account, for example, that says I'm a VIP customer or I'm a X customer or whatever kind of thing you want to have in there, we allow you to use that account, for lack of a term, we allow you to go cross-object, find the field, and then create criteria that says age it this way for these kinds of accounts.
Right. Yeah, and in fact here, Howard, when you start searching for different case fields, you'll see, similar to what you would get when you're creating like a formula field in Salesforce, you're going to get the little caret next to the field name, and then that way you can find fields on that account. I think you can get account name directly from the case, but you can get other attributes of the account from this as well. So like even if I just typed in the word name, you're going to see all these other account type fields that have come up for me to select. So, and I can do the same thing with contact. to get that information as well if I want to look for specific contact information. But definitely a good question there. I think that was one of the very last things we added to the custom aging speeds feature before it was actually delivered. So good question there. So we talked about custom aging speeds. We talked about flag event rules. The last thing I wanted to talk about was business hours. And so in terms of setting business hours up in case flags, it's very simple. There's really just a checkbox that says, do you want, or radio button rather, do you want to use business hours or do you want to use standard hours? And so the difference here is that if you select the standard hours option, case flags will age around the clock. So that means that if I have standard hours selected and I go home at 5 p.m. and there's cases that are blue flag cases, tomorrow morning when I get in at 8 o'clock in the morning, they're likely going to be red or black flag because I've let them sit for a long period of time. But most organizations who have a designated set of business hours that their agents will work within, they will use the business hours option to ensure that cases do not age outside of that, out of those hours. Something else to consider with business hours is that, if you're a larger organization, you might have support teams that have different business hours. And what you can use is Salesforce escalation rules, if you're not already using them, to set the right business hours on the cases as they come in or as they're edited. And case flags will always be able to pick up whatever the business hours are and make sure that the case flag does not age outside of those hours. So again, those three features there, again, are features that have been in the app. They're not brand new. Custom aging speeds was the last large feature we delivered on several months back, and probably one of my favorites in here just because it was one of the most requested. So let me jump back to the slide deck here. Okay, and Howard, you were talking about earlier, we had a question from a customer about reporting, so we'll talk about that a little bit here in terms of what's coming up next for case flags. So up next for case flags, the next thing we have on our plate is toast notifications. And the way this is going to work is, let's say you get a new case that comes in, or an update to an existing case causes that case to reflag. Not only will you be able to go to a list view or the utility bar to see which cases are flagged and need attention, but you'll get a little toast notification pop-up that says, hi, this case just got a response, and make sure you go take a look at it. And any of those cases that are reflagged will, of course, make its way back into the utility bar or the list view so you can see them. But it's just a nice way to kind of keep up to date on when you should be keeping an eye on certain cases. This is also a really nice way to know or to get notified about cases that are about to breach an SLA. So maybe you want to set up a notification that says, 1 hour before it's going to turn red or 1 hour before it's going to turn black, I want to be notified through a toast notification regarding that update that's about to happen. And really, I think one of the biggest parts of this update that we're really excited about is it really gets rid of the need to have a gazillion emails going to your inbox regarding new updates on cases and cases that are about to breach SLA. It's going to be a toast notification that appears, hangs for a few seconds, and disappears. And the best part about it is, if you don't remember which case it was, just go to the utility bar component or go to your list view, because the case will be flagged and be waiting for some attention. Another feature that's up next for case flags, or really a collection of features are, we're looking to do some organization cleanup settings. And so this is really looking at, this is not as fun and exciting, but it's looking to improve the speed of case flags in terms of its performance, making sure that our batch job that runs for business hours is not processing more cases than it needs to process. Additionally, looking at ways to take history tracking records that are no longer relevant and handle them in a better fashion, rather than just having them build up time over time, over time. Some other under consideration items for case flags. We have a couple of things about case flags reporting. One of the ones here is for case flags insights. So for any simple survey customers out there, we built an insights tool about 2 years ago to make it a lot easier to report on your simple survey metrics and responses you were getting on surveys. We're kind of looking at the same thing for case flags. How do we make it easier for customers to report on all of these metrics that they're getting back inside of the case flags history tracking object? Because case flags history tracking tracks a lot of different fields. And, we've packaged a number of reports to help with that, but even the reports themselves can get confusing from time to time. And also, as part of Case-Flags history tracking, we're looking at potentially adding a story viewer for the component itself, the Case-Flags Lightning component that displays on the case detail page. Because right now, on that component, you can see Case-Flags history tracking records. You can see, okay, the flag was set here, it was cleared here, but it doesn't really give you a nice visual of, what was the story of that case flag? Where did it start? What happened in the middle, and how did it end up? And if anyone was on this call a couple of minutes before we started, we were talking about another item that's under consideration for Case-Flags, which is improving how we handle follow-ups in the product. Right now, what we recommend is, and what we do internally is we have our own follow-up field. It's a date time field on the case object, and we will manually set that field whenever we send a comment out to a customer. And if the customer hasn't responded by the time that time elapses, the flag will get reset through a workflow rule or process builder rule, and we'll clear that value out. So right now, it's possible to do follow-ups with case flags, and that's the process we recommend, but it's not part of the product, and it does require you to manually go and create your own field, create your own automation. So we're looking at different ways we can build that directly into the product. And well, Howard, I think you've had a poll to launch here.
I do have a poll. So if you're still here and hanging out, please vote for something. Which of these following things are you or not excited about? You can vote for several or all or what have you. I can tell you that the insights for reporting, that's the one for me that I don't want to say it poses the greatest challenge, but the number of times that we've had to help customers really figure out how to create a report on case flags, I feel like we could make purpose-built reporting that would let people understand what they're seeing in really in their case flags data. And that could be that certain statuses are people are getting caught in, or certain kinds of cases where, like if you have warranty claims that always take way longer than they should, where other things don't take very long because they're relatively easy for your organization to do. So those kinds of things, I'd love for us to do something in terms of reporting. It's difficult to do because we have to kind of predict what our customers want out of it. Yeah, so there's some good stuff there. So hopefully you all have a chance to vote. If you haven't voted, please do so in the next minute or two or less than a minute. I'm going to close up this poll in another few seconds. So just click a few boxes and onward you go. All right. All right, I'll do a quick little share of the results just so people can see. But yeah, a lot of people like the insights. More people should have voted, but that's okay. It's onward we go.
I tried. It wouldn't let me.
Hey, we try. Give it a shot. But and it's interesting because for the people that voted, for the most part, you all like the concept around insights, and maybe it's because I sold it really well. But onward we go. Something for us to consider and think about. All right, yeah, so back to you, Joe.
Thanks, Howard. And I think, Howard, you posted it in the chat as well. We do have a link here to our roadmap. So you can see this slide along with what we have on deck for all of our apps as a whole. So again, just go to ic.force.com/roadmap. It's going to take you right there, and you can download and see what our public roadmap is for each of our products. So at this point, we're kind of finishing up here. Do we have any final questions from our customers, Howard, before we kind of wrap things up for today?
We did get a question that is, what are toast notifications? Could you run through that for us again, Joe, in terms of how that would work?
Yeah, so I remember hearing about this for the first time, and I didn't know what it meant either. So toast notifications are, well, the way they work in Salesforce today, they're those little green pop-ups you'll see on your page whenever you do certain actions. So it's just a standard Salesforce feature, and it will have a little message in it. So the way we're intending to use it with case flags is, let's say we have a case that is yellow flagged, and it's about to turn red in about an hour from now. we can create a notification, a toast notification that basically says 1 hour prior to the case turning red, throw up a toast notification on the screen for the agent who owns that case. So if I'm the agent who owns that case and I'm just working on some other cases, I'll just see a toast notification fly up on the top of the screen saying, hey, Joe, there's this case. It's about to turn red in about an hour. Make sure you take a look at it. And then that toast notification will just disappear. And because I'm working cases, even if I completely miss that notification, I can go back to my utility bar and see which cases are flagged and which ones I need to work next after I'm done working on the one that I'm working on.
Cool. Well, we'll hang around and answer more questions as they come in. But let's go to the shameless marketing part of our experience here.
It's not too much shameless marketing. It's not too bad this time. So just want to remind customers out there and customers who have been on our office hour sessions before have probably seen some of these links. Please feel free to schedule some time with the product managers. That's me, Howard, Peter, and Thais is going to be involved in these discussions too. And if you have any questions about what we discussed today, if you have something that you're just a little stuck on maybe with one of the applications, or if there's an exciting feature that you'd really like to see built into one of our apps, whether it's case flags, email to case premium, simple survey, whatnot. We love just talking with customers. And so we would love to hear what you have to say to us and collect your feedback. So we also have a service experience suite group on the Trailblazer community. And we're going to be kind of posting in there a little bit more frequently about new updates as they come out. You can get to that through ic.force.com/trailblazer. So the goal is the posts that are made in this community will be available before we do any of these office hour sessions or webinars or releases. So customers who want to hear the latest and greatest on what our apps have to offer, they're going to find it there first. And as Howard mentioned earlier, as I displayed, we have our public roadmap available. You can go to see that at ic.force.com/roadmap. And again, it's going to include case flags, the roadmap for case flags, as well as all of our other products as well. And if you want to see how you're stacking up in terms of your service experience and what you're delivering to your customers, feel free to take our assessment at ic.force.com/assessment. Actually going to launch our simple survey tool, and there's going to be a variety of different questions that you're walked through to kind of help understand what level of service you're providing and different ways you can improve. And with that, thank you for joining us. That is it for us today.
Well, we do have another question that I'm going to make you answer.
Oh, okay. Yes, please.
All right. So, and this is a good one. So you're going to do an ad hoc demo that you're not prepared to do, but you're actually prepared to do it because the org is already configured that way. So the question is that we see this awesome product from the back end, which is the switchboard view. Can we see it as a support agent would see it so that the end user experience, and what does that look like? What I'm actually thinking is the utility bar, which says these are the cases that are assigned to me, and then the record details component. So Joe, could you show how an agent would look at their utility bar and say, these are what I've got assigned, and they could see those stacked up?
Yeah, sure. So let's go to, you want to just go to a case then, right?
Sure.
Okay. Let me just jump into a case here. Hopefully I can find one that has like a meaningful subject line. Actually, you know what? I think I imported some. So, okay, keypad keys are getting stuck. Cool, that's good enough for me. So you're going to see a lot of different components here on this page because this is an org I use to demonstrate all of our apps. So you're going to see some case merge, some flags, some email to case premium, simple survey. You're going to see a lot of different things here. So the first thing here is we have I have it way down on the page because I was doing some crazy stuff one day. Typically this would be on the top, towards the top of your page. But this is our case flags record detail lightning component. And we can see here that the flag is currently set. This is kind of a bad example because it's a black flag case. It doesn't really tell you like where things are going here. Okay, there we go. Now it'll look a little prettier. Come on, get the circle there. It's going, it's thinking. All right, there we go. So we can see here we have a flag that's set. It tells us the timings of how the flag is going to work. We can see that we have 4 hours until it's going to hit yellow. we can see here as well that, it's 1:52 Eastern time, which is our time. And it's going to turn yellow at 5:52 tonight. And I think I actually do have business hours working on this case in such a way that my business hours end around 6 o'clock at night. So this is aging for this, and then it won't age until red until the next morning. We can also see the case flags history tracking records here. This is where we start to talk a little bit about the story viewer. So right now you get pretty much a list view of all the different interactions you've made on the case and how the flag worked during that time. So you can see there were flag set events, flag cleared events. You can see how long the case aged for before it reached that specific status. My favorite part about this is definitely the wheel, though, like being able to easily see it's not just blue flagged, but it's how much blue flag, like when is it going to turn to that next level flag. And you get the same type of behavior inside the case flags utility bar component. And because I have so many black flag cases, I did not work today. It's GoToMeeting issues here. But essentially in the utility bar component, I'm going to be able to see which cases I currently own and those that are flagged and which ones I need to action next. The utility bar works in such a fashion where the worst offending case is shot up to the top of the list. So I know that if I'm thinking about what case I need to work next, it's definitely this one because of the way we've organized it here. And then following this case, when I respond, it'll probably most likely be this case is being worked next. Oh, there we go. It's not being glitchy anymore. GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar issues there. You can also switch between different list views. So this is being focused in on my cases that I own. This case is probably owned by somebody else. I can look at cases which I'm on the case team for. I can look at cases that my direct reports own. And I can also look at cases from queues that I'm a part of. So I can switch this here and see different cases. And you can see here we have a black flag case, yellow flags, and blue flags. So.
Yeah, it's a really good way. One of the things that we're really happy about, case flags for a lot of years was only agent experience. And going for, we kind of took the approach that was get the record details page working so that we could see what's happening with this case, then give each person a view of what they have to account for, which is the utility bar component that you see open right now. And now we're at that high level view, which is give me that org-wide view. So having the collection of those tools, it really is going to allow you to, for lack of a better term, whichever role you have in that support process, you've got a tool that will work nicely for you. So for example, if you're a support, like let's say, for example, you have a bunch of people on your team, like let's say you're a product manager and you're overseeing the product that is case flags, and here's the support team for it. You could use the utility bar and look at cases for my reports. So all the people who had cases that were flagged that are reporting to you, you could just look at it in the utility bar, because you might not be reassigning things. You might just want to do a quick look, what's going on, what's here, what's there, quick check-in, how's this going? Really, really easy. The switchboard is a broader tool. It gives you more access to do different kinds of things. So we've kind of got something that sort of answers all of those different venues for you. Which is pretty great, which is why the thing that we're going to probably do next in terms of work on this is the reporting piece. It isn't just the what's happening now, it's being able to reflect and analyze your support experience. So we're really, the approach that we're taking is to make sure that we answer the questions that our customers keep asking us. So please keep asking us questions so that we can answer them. Can we see the individual case view when we are under the case list view to show the cases under the agent, how the agent can see the flag, what fields you can pull? So it's similar to the utility bar component, but still in a list view, we still support the flag icons themselves. So if you just want to see like a standard cases list view, the same flags that we're pulling, whether it's in the utility bar, the switchboard, or even on the record details component, you're still seeing in a list view.
Yeah, the main advantage of the utility bar versus a list view is, well, first of all, the automatic sorting. So you always get the case that you need to work next up at the top of the list. The second is not only do you see what color the flag is, but how far along in that color it is as well.
Yep.
So Cool. We will hang out for another couple of minutes here if there's any other questions that trickle in. But I think at this point, we've kind of covered everything we wanted to cover today. So thank you everybody for joining us. Very glad you spent the last hour with us talking about case flags. This stuff is really exciting to us. We spent a lot of time on the switchboard view, and I'm really excited to see how it benefits our customers. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. I think sort of the side note from this is the switchboard view. Oh, the switchboard view. Joe remembers because he was around for this, but I had made a mock-up of this more than 2 years ago in terms of like what kinds of crazy things could we do, and it's really neat to see how it's come to fruition. Frankly, it's better than what I had mocked up by a lot. Thank goodness. But you know, sometimes when you're doing something like this, like it can be very difficult to land on something that everyone kind of looks at and says, yes, that's going to be useful for me. And a switchboard is one of those things where this is the start of what we're doing with it. This is not the end. We definitely have some things specifically for multiple applications of ours so that switchboard becomes almost like the hub of the service experience suite. But even further beyond that, just consider that I don't know if anyone's read the book by David Allen called Getting Things Done. He talks about 4 different venues. He talks about doing work, deferring work, delegating work, or deleting work. Now, I'm not going to be deleting data in Salesforce. I don't want to do that from the switchboard. That's a bad idea. But doing work, delegating work, and deferring work are all things that we think the switchboard should be doing. Right now, it's extremely good at delegating work or redelegating work. But if you think about those other 2 concepts, what can we do directly in the switchboard? And what can we do to say this doesn't need response right now? Like the way we can act on cases in the switchboard view, whether it's from a little quick preview, maybe a little quick reply, some kind of action that's like, oh, because it's this, I'm going to do that. Those are the kinds of things that we're really working towards to make that switchboard view make the role of triage super duper productive beyond what we're already doing here. So that's kind of the direction that we're going, and we're very, very ready for people to suggest some other things. So thank you all.
And following this call, I'm going to go and delegate all my cases to Howard.
Why would that be, Joe? Would that be because you're going on paternity